Hey everyone, welcome back to the show. It is fantastic to have you here. You may or may not have noticed that inside of my company, we've been focused a lot on intuition lately. Intuition and leadership. Leadership, I'll talk about soon in some upcoming episodes, but I really want to lean into intuition and why it's really important, why you need to develop it and what that means in real terms, scientifically, what it means in real terms for your leadership, for your career, for your soul power business, for just living an incredible life. Intuition is a part of the skill set that you get to develop in order to make faster decisions, better decisions, to live a happier life, to feel more in tune to what source needs you to feel and what your innate gifts are. This is the most important part of intuition. You will learn how to feel and read what your most intuitive gifts are through the channel of intuition. And from there, it's really just about choice. Do I want to take action on it or not? Is this the right time for me to take action? You won't ever really be in the state of questioning, which I think is where a lot of people are right now. Who am I? What is the purpose of my life? What gifts do I have? Why does my life feel like it sometimes doesn't have meaning? And I know that a lot of people struggle with that. It's a real issue. So we're going to talk about intuition and how that relates to problem solving a lot of those issues because it's really easy to develop intuition actually. And you know what? It's not something that's just for spiritual energy people. I just want to get that out of the way right now. Here's why. Here's why I believe that. Even though I'm like a spiritual woo-woo person, energy person all the way, you guys know I love science and data. Here is my human evolution take on intuition and really any skill that we have. You wouldn't have the ability to do it unless it's somewhere along the way ensured your survival. So, in other words, everything that you can do right now, from talk to reasoning to remembering to running to jumping to crying, everything is happening because somewhere along the way that ensured that you could survive and that you would pass your DNA along. So it was beneficial. It helped you stay alive. Our species stayed alive because of all of the faculties we have now. So that's my why intuition exists. And that's why I think it's so powerful when you think of it from a human evolution perspective. I hope that just gets you thinking about it differently, where it's not just an energy thing. It is for everyone. You have an innate ability to be intuitive, and there's different ways to bring it about. And we're just going to talk about that a lot. You're going to hear a lot about how to develop intuition in the podcast, the season we're in. You're going to hear a lot about the third eye versus gut intuition versus the intuition of the heart. Did you even know that there's intuition from your heart? How do you know what intuition is like in the heart versus the gut versus the mind or the third eye? How do you develop those faculties? How do you know which one to listen to? Right? Like just these questions alone should get you to say, wow, yeah, this is a pretty big topic, and it really is. But today, for this episode, I want to talk about the 5 ways that you're probably blocking yourself from your own intuitive abilities, your own inner GPS, your own guidance system. We all at some point block our own progress, and it's good just to call it out. No shame in that game. Like we don't have to, build up a whole story around why am I blocking myself? Let's not even go there, okay? Let's just look analytically. If any of these things I list off you're doing, just note it and let's make a plan for how to solve for it. That's all you need to do. I think that you're really going to find these helpful and relatable too. So let's go ahead and get into it. The first way that I believe you're probably blocking yourself on your own guidance system, your own intuitive power and abilities is overthinking. Yeah, I just feel like the whole world just went, yep, that's me. Because you guys are all overthinkers. And that's why I love you. I'm an overthinker too. We're all very intellectual people. So it's very easy for us to overthink. It's just the very well developed, very well oiled pathway and machine that is our brain that is like, oh, okay, you got a problem. Oh, we need to make a decision. Oh, let me think about it. And the problem is no one will question you if you're like, I just need to think about it more. The thing I'd love for us to start saying more is I need to feel into it more. Let me wait for a response from my intuitive system. Let me wait. Give me some time before I answer you. I need to feel into my own internal truth. Maybe don't say it like that, but you can find a less hippy dippy way of saying it. But I think it's important that we start to let that be more common in our language, that we don't need to always think our way through something, but we can feel our way through something. And it's just as powerful. It will get us to a really valid conclusion, maybe even faster, and maybe even a better conclusion and answer than if we just use logic alone. Have you ever heard of that phrase, over analysis leads to paralysis? My former mother-in-law was the poster child for this. She would overthink everything to the point where actually nothing would be fun anymore. You'd be like, my God, like I don't have the answers to all of this. And over analysis does lead to paralysis. Your thinking freezes you up, whereas breathing, feeling is so much more of a heart and body centric activity that it's impossible to stay still. There's no phrase for feeling with your body leads to no motion, like there is with over analysis leads to paralysis, because when we start to incorporate the body, when we start to ask the heart, how do you feel? What do you want to feel in this outcome, in this situation? And start to let our emotions be a part of the problem solving and the system that we use to make decisions from, we are intuitively just going to start to experience momentum. If you feel like you're getting stuck a lot, if you feel like you're just overthinking, it's okay. A lot of people do it. But the number one solution here is to immediately start to reference your body when it comes to problem solving. I'm saying use also. So this isn't an or thing. This is an and thing. Use your body. So embodiment practices are key. We're using our senses rather than our analytical mind to give us information about how we feel. You're going to find yourself freeing up energy this way. You're going to find decision making is much more enjoyable, and you won't be paralyzed, stuck in the moment. Number 2 is ignoring your gut feelings and intuitive signals. Too often we brush off our gut feelings. I did this recently, so I got a real example for you. And you guys may have heard me on maybe TikTok or Instagram talk about this, but like it blows my mind that I do that. Like I was like, I blew off my gut. But I talk about this stuff. I teach it. So it's interesting how it sneaks in. And then you realize after the fact that you should have took action. For about a month or 2, I kept getting this thought, this feeling in my gut of I should reach out to my former professor for my graduate program and ask him if he needs an adjunct teacher for the upcoming semester. I love teaching, as you guys probably guessed. I want the experience. I could use a little bit, like use the extra money and just be on campus again because I love college so much. But I did not get a hold of him, and I let time go by until finally I just was like, let me do it. Let me reach out. So I sent him a message on Facebook. He got back to me, was like, thanks so much for getting a hold of me. Love the idea. Love the class idea. I could have used you. However, you're a little too late. I've already hired a couple people. They're alum just like you. You would have worked out great. You're too late. So all along, I was thinking I was the only one in this sort of communication of information, this idea I thought was just mine. And so I operated as if it was just mine. My intuitive signal, my gut was actually not only picking up my desire. Listen to this. It was my desire to go teach, yes, but it was also Professor Schofield's, Dabian's desire to have someone actually teach as well. He was understaffed. There was some layoffs. There was some budget cuts. So he was actually really needing help. Where are you assuming that your idea is yours alone and keeping it in this little mausoleum? Instead, treat it as if it's a request from source and from community. My former professor definitely needed the help. And I was getting the hit, the intuitive gut signal, if you will, like the bat signal in the sky, right? Like my gut knew something was up, but I didn't take action. So I missed out on an opportunity. So don't be like me. Let's keep going. Number 3, fear of failure and negative self talk. Wow, this one is a huge one. Fear of failure. First and foremost, there's no such thing. Failure is not a thing. There's expectations and things not working out according to the plan. That happens all of the time. Failure really only happens when, what's the adage? When you get knocked down, you don't get back up. That's failing. That's giving up on yourself. That's giving up, period. But if you got back up and you tried again and you tried a different way, you consulted with other people, that is never failing. When something just doesn't go as planned, that is learning, because you're going to go, okay, that didn't work. What else can I do? Who else can I talk to even to learn what they did? Problem solve together. That's you getting creative. That's you thinking outside of the box. And that's you getting back into the groove of trusting yourself and avoiding that stifling of intuition. When you talk to yourself negatively, you're really influencing the neurons in your mind as well, big time. What you say about other people, what you say about yourself, the thoughts that you have eventually make up who you are. We are what we believe, period. We act accordingly to who we believe we are as well. So you really got to check in with your thoughts, because the thoughts that you're having could be blocking you from really understanding your gifts, your skills, and what actions to be taking in life that will align you with so much joy, so much success, so much happiness, so much more ease in life. Sometimes we just have this negative self-talk that becomes this barrier, keeping us stuck in this negative world that really isn't reality. It's just the internal dialogue is so well grooved, and we get stuck in that groove in the mind, when right over here on the other side of that thought, the other story, the other thing that's true is abundance and flow and creativity and love. Self-doubt really can cloud your judgment. Self-doubt decreases so much serotonin. It decreases your dopamine. Self-doubt can wreck you if you don't get that checked. So take a look today. Watch throughout the day. What is your internal dialogue like? And I've got a little strategy for you here too. If you find that you're ruminating, like I'm a ruminator, I got to be really careful about this stuff. Anyone else a ruminator? You got to have a little system in place. When you catch yourself overthinking a negative thought, it probably won't even happen. Or you're thinking about the past. What I want you to do in that moment is to stop and ask this. What is the opposite of my feeling right now? So let's say I had an interaction with a friend and the friend kind of maybe rolled her eyes. And then I go home that night and I'm just like hypothetically like, oh my gosh, like what's her problem? Maybe she doesn't like me anymore. Maybe we're not supposed to be friends, or all the, just building a story out. The opposite of that is, well, we're still friends and there's no problem at all. And then if you ask yourself, well, what would you do in result to that? Well, I just actually probably call her up and see if she's okay. I'd actually just let it go. She's allowed to have a bad day. Do you see how like finding the opposite of your worry automatically opens up another possibility? That could be true. We end up seeing things one way. We got negative self-talk. We've got this fear of failing, this fear of people rejecting us. And we weave up these stories inside of our head. So you can ask yourself, what's the opposite? And if I were to believe that opposite is true, question number 2, what would I do about it? You guys are awesome. Let's keep going. Number 4, on ways that you might be blocking your intuition. This one's a big one. This one's a big one and really hard to do, but it's so important that you get this. Your external influences and your social conditioning. Huge when it comes to what do you believe is possible? And are you even paying attention to your intuition? Or are you letting other people's thoughts about life, thoughts about your life, guide you. It's really easy to get sucked into a negative group of people, whether that's at work or whether that's your friends. There's that saying that we are the accumulation, we become the accumulation of like the 4 or 5 people that we hang out with. It's true. It's because thoughts influence, people influence, and it's insidious. Insidious meaning it just slowly sneaks in, and all of a sudden you're just bam, talking like those people, thinking like those people, dressing like those people. And there's no other soundboard, there's no other mirror to get you thinking, is this how I want to think? So you just think like them. There's no other mirror, there's no counter force to get you to think, is this what I think is true? Is this how I want to live my life? That's why it's really important to make sure you're running with people who are achievers, who are on the same, not even the same task or the same actions as you, but the same mindset. They want to better themselves. They want to empower themselves, which is why community is so important. I've got the Rise Revolution membership. You can join right now. The doors are always open. Coming up in January is going to be MMM, the Manifesting Mastery membership again, the 3rd year. And the reason these communities are so important, and I believe in them, is because when you are running with people of higher caliber who expect more of themselves, you will expect more of you. And you'll get to discuss these topics and no one else wants to even talk about. No one else even knows to talk about, like energy levels and persuasion and like meditation and mindfulness and heart and mind coherence. Like what some people in your social group right now would like laugh at you because of that. You really got to question your friends. You really got to ask yourself, is this relationship worth it? What am I getting out of this? Am I a better person after interacting with these people? Or do I actually feel like I have more fear? Do I feel like anything is possible after interacting with these people? Do I feel like there's a lot of limitations now? Do I feel like maybe I can't be fully myself? And therefore, if I can't be fully myself, I can't listen to my intuition. Sometimes you have to do what you got to do. And if you're in that, I see you. I get it. But you do at some point need to ask, am I happy like this? And what's at risk? What's at risk if I continue for another 5, 10 years like this? And I'm coming in hot with this one because you do need to understand that you might be hanging out with people, you might be in a relationship, you might be at a job that is really blocking your gifts, your beauty, your love, your talents. Okay. And so you are unable to even connect with your intuition and your inner guidance system. That would be so easy for you to obtain if you just were able to say yes to it, but it doesn't feel safe where you are. You got to ask, is it worth it? Okay. So get real. Your homework is to look at it. And then slowly over time, think about, well, what would it be like to not be with that group of people? How can I say goodbye to that friend? And honestly, get out of that relationship because you deserve better. And honestly, they do too. Maybe on some level too, they shouldn't be with you. Think about that. If you're so much this other person, then are you really being real in that relationship? Or are you not even authentic anymore to who you really are? And is that fair to that other person? I preface this. You remember when I was like, this is the hardest one, but it's so critical you think about it. All right, guys, let's get to the last point here on the 5th and last way that you're probably blocking yourself on your own internal GPS system, your own internal guidance system and intuition is lack of mindfulness and presence. You shouldn't be too surprised I'm talking about this. I know you're not, but if you're new to my world, I was a yoga teacher and yoga practitioner for over 20 years. Mindfulness isn't just let me be aware of what I'm doing. It's let me be aware of life. Let me tune into everything. What you realize is that we're not too different from each other. And you also realize that we're having a lot of common experiences. And that's a really beautiful feeling. Instead of feeling really separate, mindfulness makes you feel really connected. So that's at the larger social level, which is really beautiful. A lot of people feel lonely. So mindfulness is a way to get around that. On the small individual level, mindfulness is going to get you to realize where you're naturally just blocking yourself from getting out there and being social, from interacting with people, from going after that new job, having some exercise or a new routine you do that's preventing you from progressing in your life. And your intuitive insights are sitting right there on the other side of you just taking a couple deep breaths, feeling the body, doing an embodiment practice, yoga, qigong, running, weightlifting, anything to get inside the body and unlock that energy. You know how it feels after you work out. You know how it feels after you've been dancing. You know how it feels after you've like gone for a run in the park or whatever you do for exercise. You feel so good, right? The reason why is because you are aware suddenly of your body. And from there, our hectic, distracted, chaotic life actually doesn't quite feel so chaotic and distracting. That mindfulness piece is really what allows you to be at peace and be open minded. And those are sort of the channels, if you will, for you to know what to do when, to tap into that inner guidance and the wisdom of the mind and the emotion of the heart. Listening to those is, I think, the hallmark of being a human being. Being a human being means to think and to lean upon wisdom. Being a human being means to feel with the heart and to use those holistically, not to bounce back and forth and use one only when you want to and one in the no, but to use it in conjunction, in partnership all of the time. These 5 obstacles that I gave you are the reason you might be feeling a lack of clarity, a lack of momentum, a decrease in joy and the vibrancy for life, because we're really not tapping into a faculty and a power that's just sitting there innate. And just like anything, if you want to get better at being an intuitive person and living intuitively, you have to practice it. Intuition is a life skill, a life skill. You want to get better at playing the piano? You got to play the piano. You want to get better at archery? You got to pick up the bow and arrow. If you want to get better at intuition, you've got to practice it. So these 5 blocks that I just gave you, I also gave you a lot of solutions to those blocks. Ponder this. Look at your life objectively. Are you blocking yourself? If so, it's time to make a plan to stop that. All right, guys, thank you so much for being here. Do me a favor and like this video, share it with someone you love who you think could use this message. And please don't forget to subscribe. I appreciate it so much, you guys. Thanks again, and I'll be with you soon.